Hey everybody, this is Will. Today is November 19th, 2014. I say that because it's a couple days before the New York Custom Knife Show. I've been getting a lot of questions whether or not I'll be making it up there this year, and unfortunately I will not be. It's a bit of a drive for me. I live in North Carolina, and you know, I know there's always a lot of guys from the Eastern Seaboard who go up there, but New York is about 14 hours away from me. And it'd kind of be counterproductive. I'm going to be having a sale after Black Friday, the Sunday after Black Friday, so just wanted to let you know. And I'll be having a lot of really cool things available then. I'm a little bit afraid if I went up to the New York Custom Knife Show that I wouldn't have anything to sell. So anyway, so one of the things that's going to be up for sale is going to be this, which I'll get to in just a second. First off, I want to say I really want to thank everybody who's been buying up the Mk10s. The last sale, I sold all of them out. The Mk6 is now officially discontinued. I've replaced that in my lineup with the Mk10. So I try to only make one, you know, tactical full-size frame lock, or a bolster lock, I guess in this case, and keep that in my lineup. It's just a little easier for me personally to stock parts for that particular knife. So Mk6 discontinued. Doesn't mean I'm not going to make any more. I might revisit the design at some point, but for right now I'm just making Mk10s. But one of the things that I built for the sale is this right here. So this is a Pelican case, and contained within this is a Mk10 kit. Now, one of the things about my knives, they are very, very high precision. I maintain machine tolerances on all the critical components to 1/10,000th of the inch. I have a Haas VF2 mill. And with that, I do maintain extremely tight tolerances on all the really critical components. Now, that's not to say every tolerance in my knives is at that you know 10,000th tolerance, but all the stuff that's really critical in the action is 1/10,000th of an inch within spec. So every single knife that comes off the line, every single one of them that I have, it has the ability to be modular. One of the cool things about the Mk10 is that you can sub out blades, scales, back spacers, pocket clips, that sort of thing, and everything works. You know, if you have a blade from one Mk10, it's going to work with the blade, with the receiver or the frame from a different Mk10, and you can mix and match all the parts. You know, there's a couple of customers who've already taken advantage of that. They've bought extra scale sets from me and extra pocket clips, and they change them out whenever they're feeling like it. So I decided to do one turnkey kit, and in this you'll get a Mk10. That's a full exchange kit. It's a modular bolster lock. This is why I call this, the full name for the Mk10 is the Mk10 Modular Double Bolster Lock. So it's got the two bolsters, of course, it's modular, and it's a tactical frame lock, I guess. So what's contained within this kit? Well, basically what you get is a Mk10, this knife right here. You get the receiver, which is, you know, the frame here. And then you get two blades and two scale sets, and these are all mix and matchable. So you can take this knife apart and you can sub out the different blades if you want a tanto versus a drop point. I'll show you that in just a minute. And you can also change the different scales and pocket clips and back spacers for whatever you're feeling like. Now, right on this I have black G10 with black smoke Kieranite on it. This also has on it right now a drop point blade. This is a stonewashed drop point blade in CPM D2. Now I'm going to show you how to take the knife apart, and I'm going to show you how to sub out for the different blade, also for the different scales. Now, before we get into this, my warranty states on it currently that if you take your knife apart, it voids your warranty. I want to clarify something on that. What I really mean by that is, do not take your knife apart and modify it. If you take your knife apart, you're liable for, if you lose the parts that are in the knife, I'm not going to replace those for free. If, for example, you take your knife apart and you lose the thrust bearings in your knife, I'm not going to replace those for free. I'm going to charge you my cost. They cost about 10 bucks a bearing, and you know, you're going to have to replace that. Also, some of the parts here are fit to this knife. The screws here and the scales here are fit to the knife, so if you lose them, I got to send you another fitted set of screws. That takes time. So time is money, and I'm going to have to charge you for it. Now I'm going to do it at my cost because I'm not trying to be vindictive. But I do want you to understand that you know, there's a certain element of risk when you go to take a custom knife apart. I'm not a production house. I'm a single guy, and so because of that, you know, I've got to, you know, try and idiot-proof my knives as best as I possibly can. So my warranty says don't take your knife apart. But really what I don't want you to do is take your knife apart and then lose stuff. The other thing that I don't want you to do is take your knife apart and then modify it, because you know, for whatever reason, I think a lot of people have got it in their mind that it's appropriate to modify custom knife makers' knives, and I don't do that. I think it's actually kind of inappropriate, but you know, it's a discussion for another day. Anyway, so I'm going to show you what we've got here. In this case, like I said, we've got a Mk10, a spare blade here. This is a tanto blade. And this has got a different finish on it. You can see it's got that nice satin finish on there. And then we've got a second back spacer here. This is in lime green G10. We've got a second pocket clip here, again in lime green G10. And then we've also got two scales. These are the front and back in white G10. Now the reason I picked these colors is because they're fairly neutral. They work with the frame, which is a two-tone frame. It's actually got stonewash finish on the sides and a satin finish on the edges. It also is jeweled on the inside here. I took a lot of extra time to make sure that this was finished on the inside and out because I knew people are going to be taking this knife apart. Now let's get started here. Let's say that for whatever reason, you know, we're doing some utility work. We've got the drop point blade on it because I think the drop point is maybe a little bit better utility blade. But we want to go ahead and configure this knife for self-defense. We're going to start carrying this as a secondary backup to a pistol or something like that. What we're going to need to do here is change the blade, and let's say that while we're at it, we're feeling a little you know, rambunctious. We want to go ahead and change out those scales. Now, what I recommend you do is get you a set of Wiha drivers. These will not come with the knife because I need mine, but go get you some Wiha drivers. That's what I'm using here. You're going to need a T6, a T7, and a T8 and a T10. So, and I suggest you get a good high contrast surface here so that we don't lose any parts. So we're going to put this down here just to give us a nice working surface. And the first step on taking down a Mk10 is removing the pocket clip here. Now these are T6s. They thread through the pocket clip into the frame, and we're going to just remove these here and set them aside. There's 3 of them. And these are, you know, of course, I don't usually like to use T6s, but I needed to use the smaller screws so we can miss the T8s that are underneath of this pocket clip that hold the frame together. Now these you can just leave the T6s in the pocket clip. That's what I usually do, so I don't lose anything. Leave them there. And then we're going to take off the scales. Now this is a T7, and we'll just remove this. Again, I usually like to, if I'm going to be taking my knife apart, I leave the screws in the parts where they go. That way I don't lose them. So we'll leave that there. And let's go ahead and pull the other scale off. Now these scales are drop-in, and theoretically, if you know the white and the smoke curanite doesn't really float your boat, you can get other scales too. They drop in, like I said. They're totally modular, and but they fit pretty tight. So you know, you do want to be careful here and make sure your screws don't go flying. If it's going to be an issue, go ahead and remove your screws. This one's pretty tight on this side. That comes right off. Underneath of here, I've done this the same stonewashed finish here, and it's just got my you know, mark here for W Moon Mk10 November 2014. And you know, of course, the Mk10 doesn't actually have to have scales, by the way. It can operate just fine without them. In fact, this thing, all it needs as far as critical operating components, it needs a pivot. And that's it. It doesn't even need the backspacer because this thing is held in there at such tight tolerance that it just doesn't even need it. You can take all these screws out and pull the backspacer out and it'll still work. So the screws in the back here are T8s. Now these, when we're reassembling this knife, you got to be a little bit careful on these. I got the best T8s that I could find for these. They came from USA Knife Maker, but unfortunately they have a tendency to strip a little bit. So I'm going to supply this knife with an extra set of T8s for the back. But be very careful when you reassemble this, so I'm just going to forewarn you. There's 3 of them underneath of here. These go all the way through the receiver. They go into the other end here, and these are blind drilled and threaded. So I'm going to pull these out. And then what I recommend you do is open your blade when we're going to go ahead and take out the last screw here. And this will basically allow us to make sure that this blade remains scratch free during this process. We're going to take our T10 driver here and remove the screw out of the locking side of the knife, then raise up, and essentially this knife comes apart on its own if you do this properly. You basically unlock the knife, start halfway closing it, and then use the lock's pressure to push the lock side of the receiver off of the blade. So it'll actually just go ahead and disassemble just like that. Really super easy. Now we'll go ahead and remove our blade. Bear in mind, you want to make sure that you capture and retain these bearings. These are very critical that you have these because they are expensive and you don't want to lose them. Now we want to change over for this blade here. So it's pretty easy to do. Reassembly is basically just the reverse. We're going to take a ball bearing, thrust bearing on there, and we wanted to change over the scales and the pocket clip, so we're going to go ahead and put the lime green backspacer on this time. Very carefully put my blade on, another ball bearing. Okay. Now we're going to take our locking frame, set this on here, and there's kind of a trick to this. I recommend you do this on a flat surface. You want to basically take your thumb, unlock the knife, and then make sure that the stop pin is properly pressed into the locking side of the frame. We're going to take our T10 for the pivot and go ahead and tighten that down. Now generally speaking, you can tighten it down as much as you want to, and then we're going to just unlock it, check our centering, and this one is set up so that you tighten it all the way down and it's perfectly center. Okay? So then we're going to take our T8s, thread these back in here, and our T8 driver. You want to make sure that the backspacer is aligned properly. Generally speaking though, if you put the T8s in, it's going to align properly. And you want to kind of squeeze this down so that you get these tightened as far as they can go. But if they are giving you a lot of resistance, do not tighten them past where they are giving you resistance, because you can twist the ends of the heads off of these, and that's no fun. And like I said, they can strip out, so be very careful about that. So now we have our backspacer installed. Our Mk10 works. And you can see it locks up, it sits perfectly center, and it's a very smooth knife. Now, we want to go ahead and install our scales. Again, the opposite of how it was to begin with. T7 again. And in the back, sometimes, you know, these are really tight. It's best if you pinch the scale like this and then tighten it down. Now we want to take our other screw here, which I left in my other scale. Go ahead and put this on here and swap out for the different pocket clip. Just a little bit more. You want to get these all pretty much started before you tighten anything down on the pocket clip, because they can be a little bit tough too. So, but generally speaking, everything lines up properly, and you shouldn't have any issues. There we go. So, like I said, these are totally modular, the Mark 10, and it's because I hold very tight tolerances in the lock area. Everything's milled, and I don't basically grind these locks, so because of that, because I'm not using a slitting saw either, there's no deflection, so the locks are always perfect from knife to knife. This is milled in here, and then I 3D machined the locking face on the blade, and because of that, they always come out right. I mean, if you set up the mill right, you use fresh tools, everything works. So this gives you a 2-for-1 basically. It's like having 2 knives in a single go. You get a Mark 10 with a drop point blade, a tanto blade, and the tanto blade has a nice stonewash satin two-tone on it. They're both really great flippers. Of course, you know, everything is the same there. You get 2 sets of scales, 2 pocket clips, and 2 back spacers. I'm going to also include probably an extra set of screws just in case, like I said, and you know, this video is going to go along with the knife as well, just so you know how it works. But just wanted to give you a brief overview of this. It's one of the things that's kind of unique to my knives in particular. I don't really know if there's any other custom knife makers who do this, but you know, it's one of those things that has been a bit of a fun little trick for the Moons for a while now. So that's pretty much it, folks. Just wanted to show you this. This is not really going to be a usual item for me. I don't intend on actually making more of these kits. I just wanted to do one as a proof of concept. It's really my way of showing off. I'm sure I could make a lot more money if I just made another frame and put 2 knives together and sold it as 2 knives. But you know, I wanted to put together one of these little kits and show off the modularity of the Mark 10 just because I can. It's not something that most knife makers do. Like I said, you know, a lot of it's because they can't, and you know, that's me showing off. But then a lot of knife makers would just rather make 2 knives. So, but you know, it's kind of a cool thing, and you know, I thought it would be just neat to have a little kit like this that would allow you to configure your knife as you saw fit. So anyway, hopefully you enjoyed seeing this this little sneak peek at what's coming up for the 30th. If you're not subscribed to my channel, go ahead and subscribe to my channel. Make sure you come out and check out the sale on the 30th. We're going to have a lot of really cool stuff. It's going to be on November 30th, like I said, it's a Sunday, at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I've moved my sales up from noon to 1 p.m. to kind of give a little extra leeway for the guys on the West Coast. Again, thank you for watching. I do really appreciate it, and I do really appreciate all the business guys. Thank you very much for buying my gear, for buying my knives. I can't tell you how much that means to me. I am full-time now, so this is my means of employment, and so far been pretty successful at this. So hoping for continued success, and so far nothing but great feedback on the Mark 10. So thanks very much for watching, guys. Thank you for buying my stuff. See you later.